Ben Simmons means business as another big matchup looms for him and the 76ers tonight at the center. Danny Green, always a solid fit, sporting his Friday apparel tonight. Look at those two bros. How wholesome is that? Peace from Turkey, from Australia / the United States, hoopers from all walks of life, uniting for the 76ers cause tonight as the Sixers retake the court in South Philadelphia, looking to make it 4 straight, and they are hosting the hottest team in the NBA right now, the LA Clippers, which, like the Brooklyn Nets before them, will be shorthanded tonight. Will a similar outcome ensue? We zoom in on our coverage tonight. Shake Milton, he of 39-point fame versus the Clippers and the 76ers, getting ready to go. Great look into the center tonight where the 76ers host the LA Clippers, the number 3 team out of the Western Conference. No Kawhi Leonard tonight for the Clippers. That news just coming in. And also a game time decision. Will Paul George be, because he's not feeling well? So that is the backdrop, Lauren Rosen, as the 76ers get ready to take on another really good team after a great and important win over the Brooklyn Nets 2 nights ago.
Yeah, so it's the second time in as many games that we've gotten pretty excited about a matchup to potentially not see everybody on the floor. But the bright side is the Sixers, in the exception of Tobias Harris, who remains questionable tonight, have the advantage when someone like Kawhi Leonard and potentially Paul George as well are sitting out. Look for the Sixers to get the opportunity to capitalize. They are 21-5 at home, one of the best teams in the league on their own home court. This the second in 4 straight games at home, and another opportunity for another victory, regardless of who's available.
Listen, for as much as I am disappointed the 76ers are missing out on playing some of the top talent in the NBA, insane that they didn't get a chance against KD and James Harden the other night against the Nets in the win, and they could be missing both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George tonight. I think we're seeing, especially unfortunately this week, that the condensed nature of the schedule, Lauren, is making everyone think across the league about the time of the season that matters the most. Obviously, that's the postseason, and how to manage the home stretch of what's been a really condensed, tightly packed schedule. I'm referring to the injury, the real unfortunate injury to Jamal Murray earlier today. Donovan Mitchell from the Jazz had to leave the Utah game due to an ankle sprain. So I do get it. I'm disappointed, but I also get what some of these teams are doing.
And your heart has to go out to those fan bases. Those two guys having amazing seasons for their teams, leaders of their teams. We, of course, don't know what the situation is with Donovan Mitchell, but to see Jamal Murray go down that way, no team wants to win because another team loses their best guy. These guys are also competitive and so proud of their work and respectful of one another that they want to see each other at their best. So if nothing else, the lesson we learned Wednesday against Brooklyn, yes, a win, happy to get it, but these guys would have loved to face off against a fully loaded Nets team, and I'm sure the same goes for tonight against the Clippers. But of course, the win may be a little bit more easily attainable in this current situation.
76ers dub over the Brooklyn Nets on Wednesday, 123-117, their 3rd straight. The Clippers coming in with a record of 39-18. They're winners of an NBA best right now, 7 in a row, and they've won 13 out of their last 15 games. They added Rajon Rondo at the trade deadline. He's made a huge impact on the Clippers in just 6 games. So there are some neat subplots to this matchup tonight. The 76ers, Lauren, you mentioned this on the Friday Deep Dive podcast that we did that came out earlier today. It's like, who cares what these other teams are doing? Go out there, rack your wins up. Fine. Teams don't want to go at you full strength. Just win the game.
And I'm sure that that's if Doc Rivers had known what the availability situation for the Clippers had been when he addressed us moments ago. It's all about getting as many wins as possible prior to the playoffs. The players have said it. We've heard Doc say it. As many wins as possible. They want that 1 seed. They currently have it, a full game up on the Brooklyn Nets after their win on Wednesday. Every game is an opportunity to extend and maintain that lead, and that's how these guys are looking at it.
What else did Doc Rivers have to say? Let's check in with his stance on the 76ers and how they fared in that Wednesday game. Back and forth, the Sixers got a big lead up by 22 in the 4th quarter, and then Brooklyn made a late run.
It is, I'm happy, I guess. I don't know. I don't even look at it, but you're right. It is important, because if it means that we get home court because of the tiebreaker, it's huge for us. So, yeah, it's important for sure.
The 76ers are planting the seeds for what they hope is the number one seed at the end of the regular season. They're occupying that spot right now, one game in front of the Brooklyn Nets. And listen, Lauren, I think even in that game on Wednesday night, you can hear the advantage that the 76ers had with 4,100 fans in the building. So who knows, even if it's not 20,000 strong, given the current climate that the world is in, um, 4,000 is better than none. And the Sixers, I think, still even get an advantage as long as they have some smattering of fans in the building.
I know we're going to get to it in a second, but Joel Embiid, I'm sure, would agree with you, Seltz, that 4,000 strong is, at this point, a good amount, an amount that'll get him going, and he was thrilled to perform for them on Wednesday. It's been really cool to see Joel reunited with 4,000 of his closest friends.
I thought, Lauren, for 3 quarters and 4 minutes, the Sixers played great. They did what they were supposed to do. Kyrie Irving got off to a quick start for the Nets. He was hard for anyone to handle. But as the game went along, the Sixers chipped away. Tobias Harris playing through some knee pain was awesome in the second quarter. And then Joel Embiid erupted in quarter number 3. And Joel just has been so good as of late. No one has been able to stop him. Look at a move like that. Just jaw-dropping stuff from the MVP candidate.
Yeah, he says that he's not fully back yet. He's not fully comfortable in that knee brace, but he sure looked mighty good in this one. That has become his trademark celebration. So I'm still not entirely sure where I land on that one, but good to see him happy about what's going on the court. He was wonderful in this one.
As we mentioned, the 76ers picking up the 1 seed currently with that win over the Nets, and they also get the tiebreaker in the regular season series as well. What a great play right here. Your defensive player of the year candidate Ben Simmons getting out on the break in the jam. Let's hear from Ben Simmons talking about the importance of the 76ers being on top of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, very important. We won that 1 seed. We got a pretty tough schedule coming up, with Milwaukee Clippers. But I think we're more than capable of it.
This run over the next 2 weeks, Lauren, I would love to see the Sixers play some of these teams at full strength. I'm so excited for some of these games. I mean, you got the Clippers tonight. You've got the Warriors on Monday, the Suns, the Red Hot Suns next Wednesday. Then you're on the road for 2 at Milwaukee, come home, Oklahoma City. Okay. And then 2 against the Atlanta Hawks. This is going to be a really good barometer test for the 76ers this late in the season.
It's a really exciting stretch. Of course, as they look to maintain that 1 seed, you wish that there were a few more gimme games in that stretch, but they are certainly going to be exciting. And honestly, because of how difficult that schedule is, sometimes you got to just take the W's when not everybody is available for your opponent.
Let's check out the latest from MVP candidate Joel Embiid in front of a nationally televised audience, going for 39 points, back-to-back 30-point performances for Embiid. Some of the moves he pulled out again. I mean, I feel like I was paying attention before the left knee bone bruise injury against the Wizards about a month or so ago, but I feel like since he's come back over the last few weeks, there have been more spectacular moves that he's been pulling out of his bag of tricks. And I hear him when he says he feels like he's not all the way back, but when he does put it together, it's going to be so much more scary given some of the stuff that he's shown.
And we know he put a major emphasis into diversifying his offensive game in the offseason. And we've been seeing, it's almost like he rolls out a new trick. I hear what you're saying, Seltz. He rolls something new out, adds something to the package, to the arsenal. It's been a pleasure to see him grow on the court, off the court, offensively, defensively. Doc Rivers just said prior to tonight that he's biased, but if he had a vote for MVP, it would go to Joel. I feel the same way as Doc does, Seltz.
Look at that. Ryan Coletti and Trevor Gaffney on cue coming up with the social media content from one Lauren Rosen's feed. Love that. And listen, Joel, he is putting it all together. I think he is saying the right things. He is doing the right things. It could be a one-legged Dirk fade, a dream shake, or just a simple jump shot where he rises up from 17 feet and knocks it down. he is showing himself to be an unguardable force. I don't know how we can have different takes on this based on what we've seen so far. Maybe I kind of feel like I'm sounding like a broken record, but the more that Joel continues to do what he's doing, we're going to have to talk about it and pump it up. It's worth pumping up.
Incredibly impressive. I look forward to this continued discourse.
Joel Embiid loves the crowd, whether he's thrusting his hips or raising up his arms.
Man, as the fans, going back to last season, we were amazing at home, and on the road we just wasn't the same. I mean, if we would have played the playoffs, the regular way, where we had games at home, I feel like it would have been a different outcome. But when you play in Philly, they're gonna push you. They're gonna get on you. They're gonna boo you. You gotta come out and give 110%. Just play very hard and give them everything you got. So I feel like since I've been here in Philly, that's played a huge role of how dominant we've been at home. Because you don't want to get booed. You want to come out and dominate, enjoy the game. You want the fans to enjoy the game. You want to win the game. So that's the way I feel. But but at the end of the day, it's all love. Whether they're booed, whether they're cheering, I know that is for the right reasons. They want us to be better and they want us to win.
Is there a man who knows what to say about the Philly faithful more than Joel Embiid? Love hearing him take the tough, high expectations of a fan base, rightfully so that we have them in Philadelphia, fans with very high expectations. But Joel talking about it like it's a motivating factor. I love to hear it.
Good to see him embrace the fans for who they are. They're not going to change, and he's not going to ask them to. I love the spirit that he brings to them, the spirit they bring to him. It's clearly a symbiotic relationship, and I love watching it grow.
We know one of the main people responsible for creating such an awesome atmosphere at the center, whether 4,100 are there or 20,000, is our man Archie. He and Sixers ENT are standing by. Archie, what's up, man?
Hey, thanks, Brian and Lauren, and welcome to the 76 Live Countdown presented by Tissot, your official watch for the NBA and your Philadelphia 76ers. I am your main man, Archie, joined by Squad 76. We got my man DJ Ghost in the building, and of course, we got the Sixers, and tonight, we got the Los Angeles Clippers versus your Philadelphia 76ers. It's going to be an amazing matchup. That's why we encourage you at home to pull out your phones and right now, download the official 76ers app. That way you can stay up to date with all the news. They got some games you can play and some wallpapers you can download as well. But most importantly, that's where you're going to redeem your prize for the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out, happening into the second half of tonight's game. Your chance to win free eats and fabulous treats. But right now, we're going to keep the energy going with the best drum line in the NBA. I want you guys to give it up for the Sixers. Sixers! Best drum line in the NBA. Best drum line in the NBA. One more time for the Sixers. Squad 76. DJ Ghost. I'm your main man, Archie. My co-host, Christian Crosby, will be standing right here normally, but he'll be back in just a little bit. Make sure you check us out tonight. It's going to be a wonderful matchup as well. Let's go Sixers. Brian and Lauren, back to you.
Thank you, Archie. I think Archie and I are wearing the same sweatshirt tonight. I have the utmost confidence in saying Archie is wearing it better than I am.
Stop. I think anybody can rock the parchment hue that the Sixers will be rocking in just over an hour.
Love it. Well, the 76ers, we know that they aren't going to be facing Kawhi Leonard tonight. He certainly had a strong game against the Sixers the first time around a few weeks ago. Paul George is a game-time decision. He's not feeling well. If either one of those two were to play, and right now the only one who's in play is Paul George, got to think there might be a shot that young Matisse Thybulle might be able to see some time on him.
Yes, indeed, Seltz. I asked Matisse what it was like to play these guys just a couple weeks ago, how much that first game can inform this second game. Turns out the answer might be not so much, but I'll let Matisse take it from here.
Hey, Matisse, as is usually the case, you had some pretty significant defensive duties when you guys faced this Clippers team just over 2 weeks ago. And when you play them again in such a close proximity, how much does that first outing play into the way that you prepare? Or do you sort of see this one as playing them anew?
It's a little bit of both, but I think like a common theme for us this season has just been it comes down to us and like what we do and just being better in transition, continuing to be good in half court, and then just scoring, getting through our guys. But yeah, I mean, the Clippers are a good team, but at the end of the day, it comes down to us, and we can, I think, we determine how we're going to be.
A few weeks ago in one of your media sessions, we discussed the fact that last season you didn't really get a traditional ramp up period to the playoffs. So as your first, maybe more traditional season starts to come to a close, how confident are you feeling about where you're at as you get ready for a more traditional playoffs this season?
Yeah, definitely. I think Doc's been good about keeping things, being consistent, and what he's asked of me and what he's expected of me has been pretty consistent this whole season. So I feel like I'm in a comfortable place with knowing what he wants and knowing what I can do at this point.
Lastly, you've been Ben Simmons' teammate for the entirety of your NBA career. This season, a lot of his teammates, your teammates, have discussed Ben's improvements defensively and the way that he's changed as a leader. What have you seen from him in those two areas of defense and leadership this season?
Defensively, I'd say it's just his consistent intensity on the defensive end. His ability to show up at key times and just be a menace, and just guys just they don't know what to do. He's too big, he's too fast, he's too strong. And it really just comes down to his effort, and he's been this year showing it consistently. And as far as the leader aspect, just being a voice in the locker room, whether it's the huddle before we run out on the court, or it's in timeouts, or it's on the bus to the plane, just asking guys, "Are you ready? You ready to go?" It's a big one. I think that's just been a consistent theme from him, and it's definitely helped. I think a lot of guys are benefiting from it.
Matisse Thybulle, thanks so much.
Cool to hear from Matisse and some of his teammates about the way that Ben has grown as a leader off the court. Ben, of course, Matisse part in crime, those duties. Not sure how many of those duties will fall to either of them. If you're just joining us now, Kawhi Leonard out tonight, Paul George unclear, he's not feeling well. The two of them, Matisse and Ben, that is, have been elite defensively. Cool to hear that Ben has been growing so much off the court as well. That's something else that I think a lot of his teammates have discussed this season, and maybe we haven't seen as much as outsiders, but they're definitely feeling it. And Ben Simmons, the leader, is someone I can get behind for sure.
That's on Wednesday, 17 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals. Big performance from Ben Simmons in that game. And this is another big matchup tonight between the Sixers, and they have the Clippers at home. And we're turning to our guy, Jason Crafton, former Delaware Bluecoats assistant coach and head coach at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, right now to go inside tonight's matchup.
This is Jason Crafton, and let's go inside the matchup. Tonight, we're looking at Ben Simmons, probably the best player in the league at putting pressure on the rim. Whether it's a made basket or a missed basket, Ben is always turning offense into transition basketball with his constant pressure on the rim. When he's getting to that left hand, he's very rarely can anybody stop him. He's very physical and aggressive at getting into the rim. And then when he's going to his right hand, he has the ability to sidestep you and put some savvy moves to also finish in the lane with his right hand. Here's the thing that's cool about Ben is he's giving you 7 assists a game. And now he's got some space on the floor. So Sixers fans, you don't see him getting offensive fouls that you've seen in the past because the defense can't collapse as they used to be able to. Because now he can kick to Seth Curry. He can kick to Danny Green. You've got a Shake Milton that's on the rise in terms of being a great three-point shooter. And Furky from Turkey's knocking it down as well. And sometimes Tobias is trailing the break, and he can feed the wealth and share it to him for three-point shots as well. Joel is taking better threes, and when he spaces the floor and takes the right ones, there's all types of room now for Ben to do what we know he's great at, and that's putting pressure on the rim, and he does it with great consistency. On the defensive end, he loves getting down in the stance. He loves being physical, getting into the basketball. He's giving you 1.6 steals per game. Sometimes those steals are on the ball. Sometimes they're off the ball with his length, activity, and athleticism. And then he's out in transition, putting more pressure on the rim. Ben's doing an incredible job leading the Sixers drive to an Eastern Conference crown and an NBA title. I know Sixers fans have loved to see the growth of the young fella, Shake Milton. I enjoyed working with Shake in that my first year in the G League when he was with the Blue Coats down there, a second-round draft pick that had some injuries that really fought through that first year, got some great experience in the G League, and now you've seen his tremendous growth as an NBA player. In his third season, he's nearly tripled his scoring from 4 points a game to now almost up to 12 or 13 points per game. He's increased his free throw percentage from in the 70s to almost 86, 87%, so you can count on him down the stretch. Here's what we like about Shake, is when Shake's coming off ball screens, if you screw up and you go under, he's knocking down that trifecta, all right? He's really good at that. And he's grown in his ability to not just shoot the three with consistency, but to make great decisions in a crowd, in traffic, when he's getting in the lane and being able to find guys off the bounce. He's up to 3 assists per game. His turnovers are down, and we love the savvy finishes and the floaters and the unique stuff he does, sidestepping, euro stepping, and the floaters off one leg. Shake Milton is a young player on the rise that continues to get better under the Sixers' development. I'm Jason Crafton, and you just went inside the matchup.
Much thanks to Jason, head coach at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, former Blue Coats assistant. Shake Milton, 15 points against the Nets. On Wednesday, Lauren, he has scored in double figures in now 3 straight games, playing pretty well.
He's been great, and we can never forget, of course, that 39-point performance against the Clippers. I believe anytime Shake Milton plays the Clippers in his career, we're going to have to go back to the 39-point performance in 2020 that caught Doc Rivers' eye. I love that story. Love that beginning to the Rivers-Milton relationship. And I think we saw a lot from Shake in that first game that he's been able to, well, rather not first game, but that first 39-point game that's translated over into his season this year.
One of Doc Rivers' former assistants, Tyronn Lue, now in charge of the Clippers on the court. And while there's no Kawhi Leonard tonight, possibly no Paul George for LA, still got to respect what the Clippers have been doing as of late. They've won 13, as you can see, out of the last 15 games, including one victory over the 76ers. That was a 7-game winning streak. That's the total that they're bringing into tonight's game. They won at the buzzer against Detroit. They're in the midst of a long road trip rolling through the Eastern Conference. So the Clippers, very, very good. They're the top-rated offense in the NBA. They shoot more corner threes than any team in the league. They have the best three-point shooting percentage in the league. They are awfully good.
It's a tough opponent. Again, if you're just joining us, though, Kawhi Leonard not appearing tonight. Paul George is still unclear unless something has changed there. But yeah, Seltz, this is a Clippers team that clearly, as we saw, as the Sixers were on the West Coast just a couple weeks ago, they can really play some basketball. The top of the West, really interesting. They're third behind, of course, chasing rather the Suns, who are coming into town to visit the Sixers in just a few short days.
I believe we can take a peek at what Ben Simmons is up to right now as he's going through his pregame warm-up routine with Sam Cassell. Love to see that. And listen, even though there's no Kawhi and there might not be Paul George, there's still some really good bouncy, feisty guards that the Clippers can throw out there. We talked about how they added Rondo. He's a plus 30 in 6 games when he's on the court. That's his net rating. That's the Clippers' net rating. When he's on the court, they're 30 on the positive side, which is amazing in 6 games. Reggie Jackson, he can score it, had the winner the other night. There's also Terrence Mann, who went for 23 points at season high the last time the Sixers played them. And that's the fascinating part about Ben Simmons. Regardless of who you are playing or who you are not playing, if you're Doc Rivers, you can put him on the opposition's best player who's ever available on a given night.
Yeah, Ben has just been wonderful. You see another Clipper that I didn't mention yet, Luke Kennard, warming up behind him. Gotta give a shout out to my former classmate at Duke. Luke's a great guy, but of course we hope that someone like a Ben Simmons or a Matisse Thybulle can make sure he doesn't do too much damage tonight. I believe we might have lost Seltzer's audio there, but we were talking about Benson's defensive prowess. Cool to hear Matisse Thybulle talk about that defensive prowess tonight. As we have already mentioned a couple times, Kawhi Leonard not available for the Clippers. Paul George's status is yet to be determined. He's not feeling great. But before we get too far into the opposition, check Tissot PR 100, which says, I think that it's time for the keys to the game.
It is. That's what my Chrono XL NBA Special Edition is saying as well. It's time. Let's do it. Keys to the game. Without further ado, Lauren, you are in the leadoff spot.
All right, Seltz, I got you. My key to the game, simple. The way Joel Embiid has been playing since coming back from that left knee bone bruise, I said feed the big fella. It seems obvious, but another injury that we haven't discussed yet, Ibaka has lower back tightness, not on this trip with the Clippers. That's a matchup Joel Embiid had to learn to cope with over the years. Zubats will get a lot of time against Joel. Zubats has been excellent lately, as Doc Rivers alluded to prior to the game, but not so much a matchup for Joel Embiid, in my opinion, the way that Joel has been lately. Feed the big fella.
I love it, especially in this type of clash. Got to keep the man going. My key tonight is get ready for Rondo. I think this would be a little bit of a different situation if, let's say, Kawhi Leonard were playing. If Paul George, listen, if he's going to play, he's probably not going to be at full strength. But Rondo, he was acquired in a trade for Lou Williams. That was a big roll of the dice for the Clippers. I think the Clippers were banking on Rondo brings leadership, and it seems like early that is pretty darn good. So he is adding some things to the Clippers to an already talented team. And those are our keys to the game, brought to you by Tissot.
Love that key, Seltz. I am with you. It'll be interesting to see Rondo tonight.
There's no doubt. I think we're battling some internet gremlins tonight. We apologize for that. It's a streaming show. What can we do? But yes, I'm excited for this one regardless. I think this continues a stretch of really neat opponents for the 76ers to take on. But listen, like we said at the top, doesn't matter who the opposition out there, just go out and continue to rack up wins.
I'm with it, Seltz. Home court advantage is certainly a real thing for the Sixers team, who are fighting for further home court advantage in the playoffs, an inch ever closer with just 17 games left.